You know what? I just created a denomination when I was in the bathroom thinking about it.
Wow.
I was telling you earlier, we don't. Yeah, I was thinking, earlier we don't really have a label. If I had to label our church something, we're not Word of Faith. I'd call us the Word of Love.
Word of Love.
We're a Word of Love church. We're the first branch that I know of.
You heard it here first. So this is big.
Yeah.
And you got all those people paying tithes.
Yeah.
To you.
You could just write it out in Wayne Watley's name. No, just kidding. Don't.
Did you see my video on the prosperity gospel?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So.
Yeah. And there is a difference between Word of Faith and prosperity. Prosperity doctrine or gospel, which you said in your video, is works driven.
Yes.
By giving, you're accepted by God.
Your sacrifice, by giving your sacrifice.
Well, that's totally not what I believe in. Grace giving.
Right.
I believe you're blessed whether you give or not.
And I did say there is a clear line between Word of Faith and prosperity. I have a problem with Word of Faith whenever they say always and never. I do have problems with those. I think they get a little too absolute.
Well, God's absolute. God will never lie.
True.
He will never leave us nor forsake us.
Right.
He always loves us. Nothing, no depths or heights or anything could ever take us away from the love of God. He is. Now, whether or not we have it figured out which side he's on our extreme, that's another thing. But God is an all or nothing God.
I'll say this, where I disagree with you on is, I think it's debatable to say that it's always God's will that we be healed. I do agree it's never God's will that we're sick and that sort of thing, because I believe those are direct effects from the fall. Any good theologian would agree with that.
Well, I agree that sickness is a result of our sin.
Yes.
And I don't think because you lusted after a woman, now you're going to get the flu. I don't think that. I think it's direct relation physically, like cause and effect, in the natural, So, like for example, a real result of sin, of lust, is impotency or failure to really have an intimate relationship one day with a wife. There's a lot of people who are trapped into pornography that they cannot relate sexually with a person they're supposed to, and so that's a direct result. That's a sickness, impotency. It's a sickness based on that sin.
And they've already got their entire sexual life boiled down in a few years of fantasies in their head.
Yeah.
So being with a woman isn't even exciting to them.
No, and it's sad. And there's a lot of people in the ministry that struggle with that, but there's so much at stake for them, they think, that if they were to talk to somebody about that. But I do believe that, and I believe in impotency, for example, that is a sickness and it's a result of sin. I believe it's always related to the sin our sickness is. Now, if somebody gets the flu or something, that's...
What sin did you commit?
Not everything is also caused by sin.
Because there's an extreme to that, and that's what the Pharisees were doing.
Yeah.
Right? If something was born wrong or something, it's because they sinned or their parents sinned.
Well, let me tell you what I do when I start to feel like I'm coming down with a sickness. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll speak to that sickness and tell it to leave my body. You know what? And it does. Really. Since I've believed that way, I've not really been sick.
Okay. Yeah, this whole, you need to speak to your problem, and what's the other thing your friend Corey says? We need to know who we are in Christ.
A lot of people don't.
That's a really alien concept to me, because no one ever sat me down and said, here's what all this stuff means.